I really didn't want to tell this story. Not because it's some massive conspiracy or anything, but because what I'm about to share sounds so insane that you'll probably think I'm making it up for clicks. But I swear on my mother's grave, everything I'm about to tell you happened exactly as I remember it. And trust me, I remember every single terrifying detail. This whole nightmare started back in late 2015. I was working for this high-end plumbing company. We're talking about the kind of place that doesn't fix your toilet for $200. No, we cater to people with stupid money. Celebrities, tech billionaires, the kind of people who wipe their ass with $1,000 bills. Our specialty? Custom installations that cost more than most people's houses. So when we got a call about a job at Diddy's new mansion, nobody was surprised. The guy had just bought this massive estate and wanted everything upgraded to match his, let's call them unique tastes. But this wasn't just any renovation. This was the kind of project that made our boss's eyes light up like a kid on Christmas morning. The order was absolutely bonkers. 2 marble sinks, not just any marble, but this rare imported stuff that had to be shipped from some quarry in Italy that probably has a waiting list longer than the DMV. The faucets? Pure gold with Swarovski crystals embedded in them. Because apparently, regular gold isn't fancy enough when you're washing the cocaine residue off your hands. But the real showstopper was the jacuzzi. This thing was a monument to excess. Massive, carved from a single piece of marble, with inlaid gemstones that lit up like a damn disco ball. Just hearing the specs made my head spin. We're talking about a price tag that could buy you a nice house in suburbia. Diddy wasn't messing around either. He wanted everything done yesterday, and was throwing around bonuses like confetti at a New Year's party. When someone's willing to pay premium prices for premium speed, you don't ask questions, you just do the work. Now, here's where things get weird. When we showed up to install the jacuzzi, I was expecting to work in some fancy bathroom overlooking the pool, or maybe a spa room where guests could admire the craftsmanship. But no, they led us to the basement. Not just any basement, mind you. We went down the staircase that felt like descending into another dimension. At the bottom was this massive black metal door that looked like it belonged in a bank vault or a supermax prison. The kind of door that makes you wonder what someone's trying to keep in or out. When we stepped inside, my jaw literally dropped. This wasn't some musty storage area with Christmas decorations and old photo albums. This was a full-blown entertainment complex. There was a fully stocked bar, a small stage with professional lighting, and, get this, 2 stripper poles that were polished to a mirror shine. I'm standing there thinking, okay, rich guy wants his own private club. Weird, but whatever. But then they showed us the room where we'd be installing the marble masterpieces, and something felt off. Really off. Why hide all this expensive stuff in a basement? Rich people usually love showing off their wealth. They want you to see their golden toilets and diamond-encrusted bidets. But this felt secretive, like it was meant for a very specific group of people who knew exactly what went on down here. The jacuzzi installation took about a week. Standard rich guy stuff. Demanding, expensive, but nothing that raised any red flags. It was when I came back to install the sinks that things went completely sideways. Installing these custom marble sinks isn't a team job. It's delicate work that requires the steady hands of a surgeon and the patience of a saint. One wrong move, and you've just destroyed something worth more than most people's cars. So I came back alone, which I preferred anyway. Less chance of someone screwing up my masterpiece. I was about halfway through installing the first sink when I noticed something weird about the floor. There was this one section that felt soft, like it was giving way under my weight. At first I thought maybe it was just a loose board or some temporary covering. You know how construction can be, sometimes things aren't perfectly finished. But as I kept working, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Every time I stepped on that spot, it felt like the floor was going to give way. And then, because my luck is apparently terrible, it did exactly that. I was making a final adjustment to the sink when, crack, my foot went straight through the floor like I was stepping on paper. My leg disappeared up to the knee, and I'm standing there like some kind of demented flamingo, cursing loud enough to wake the dead. The pain was immediate and sharp, but what really got to me was the absurdity of it all. This is supposed to be a luxury mansion where every detail costs more than my yearly salary, and I'm falling through the floor like it's a damn cartoon. After I pulled my leg out and finished cursing out 3 generations of construction workers, curiosity got the better of me. I had to see what was down there. So I started clearing away the broken boards and plywood, and what I found made my blood run cold. This wasn't just a small gap or a construction oversight. This was a legitimate opening, big enough for a person to climb through. And as I stared into the darkness below, I heard something that made every hair on my body stand up. Voices. Muffled, distant, but definitely human voices. And underneath that, the sound of machinery, drilling, humming, the kind of industrial noise that means someone's working hard on something they don't want the world to see. My first thought was maintenance work. Maybe they were fixing pipes or installing some kind of underground system. But the more I thought about it, the less sense it made. Why would they leave the floor like this if they knew there were workers down there? Why wasn't this area properly secured before we started installing fixtures worth more than most people's annual salaries? I grabbed our work ladder and set it up in the hole. As I climbed down, the sounds got louder and more distinct. My heart was pounding like a heavy metal drum solo, and I had this weird mix of excitement and pure terror coursing through my veins. When I reached the bottom, I turned on my flashlight and nearly shit myself. I wasn't in some random hole or forgotten crawl space. I was standing in a full-blown tunnel system, not a sewer or utility tunnel. This was something else entirely, something deliberate. The tunnel stretched out in both directions, disappearing into darkness that my flashlight couldn't penetrate. The construction was too clean, too purposeful, to be anything standard. This had been built for a specific reason, and I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like what that reason was. The air down there was thick and oppressive, like breathing through a wet blanket. There was this dampness that made my skin crawl and a smell that was part mold, part rust, and part something else I couldn't identify but definitely didn't want to. I took a few steps forward, and that's when I saw them. Narrow tracks running along the side tunnel, like miniature train tracks. They looked old and worn, but not abandoned. Someone had been using these recently, moving things through this underground network. Against every instinct screaming at me to get the hell out of there, I kept walking. And that's when I saw the first door. It was identical to the one upstairs. Massive, black metal, industrial looking. The kind of door that doesn't just keep people out, it keeps secrets in. My hand was shaking as I reached for the handle, expecting it to be locked. But it wasn't. It opened easily, almost invitingly. What I saw inside that room will haunt me until the day I die. In the center of the room sat a single chair. Not just any chair, a metal restraint chair with straps for arms and legs. The kind of thing you see in horror movies or crime documentaries about serial killers. The metal was rusted and old, and those straps, God, those straps had dark, crusty stains on them that I really hoped weren't what I thought they were. Next to the chair was an old television. One of those massive, boxy things from the 80s. But here's the thing that really messed with my head. It wasn't plugged into anything. No cables, no power source, nothing. Just sitting there like it was, waiting for showtime. I stood there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, trying to process what I was seeing. This wasn't some eccentric rich guy's weird hobby room. This was something dark, something that belonged in a nightmare, not in a celebrity's basement. I should have left right then. Should have climbed back up that ladder, finished my job, and never spoken about what I'd seen. But you know what they say about curiosity and cats? Sometimes you just can't walk away from the abyss without staring into it a little longer. So I kept going deeper into the tunnel system. The next door I found led to something that was somehow even worse than the first room. This one was filled with shelves, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, packed with identical black boxes. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all perfectly organized, like some kind of twisted library. My flashlight died right as I stepped into the room, because apparently the universe has a sense of humor. I fumbled for my phone and used its flashlight to illuminate the nightmare I'd stumbled into. I couldn't help myself. I had to know what was in those boxes, so I grabbed one from the bottom shelf and opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a photo of a woman, maybe in her 50s, with short white hair and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Under the photo was a CD in a plastic sleeve and some papers. But what really made my stomach turn were the two small plastic bags at the bottom of the box. One contained hair, white hair that matched the woman in the photo, tied in a neat little bundle. The other contained fingernail clippings. Someone had carefully collected and preserved pieces of this woman, like some kind of sick trophy collection. I slammed the box shut and put it back, but I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. And there were hundreds more boxes just like it. Hundreds of photos, hundreds of people, hundreds of collections of hair and nails, and God knows what else. I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. My brain was screaming at me to run, to get out, to pretend none of this ever happened. But those damn tracks were calling to me again, leading deeper into the darkness. I followed them to their end, where I found an old rusted cart sitting on the rails. At first glance, it looked empty, but as I got closer, I saw it was filled with clothes. Regular clothes, jeans, shirts, dresses, shoes, men's and women's clothing that looked fresh, like someone had just taken them off. That was my breaking point. I turned and ran like hell, not caring about noise or stealth or anything, except getting out of that underground house of horrors. I finished my work upstairs as fast as I could, not even caring if I did a good job, and got the hell out of there. For weeks afterward, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those boxes, that chair, those clothes. I kept asking myself the same questions over and over. What was that place? What was happening down there? And most terrifying of all, was it still happening? I never told anyone about what I saw. Not my coworkers, not my family, not even my wife. Who would believe me? It sounds like something out of a horror movie, not something that happens in real life. But I know what I saw, and I know it was real. Sometimes I wonder if I should have done something, said something. But what could I do? Call the police and tell them I found a creepy basement?